Tip number 2, savor stability, savor blood sugar stability, not sugar spikes. So we want to do all we can to minimize those blood sugar spikes. Those are associated with more inflammation. They're associated with more menopausal symptoms. And as I mentioned before, when the estrogen levels decrease, we see a shift in that microbiome toward more inflammatory species. So that's typical. It's not inevitable though. So there's a lot that we can do, but we need to really be thinking about how do we help our gut microbiome. Now, as estrogen decreases, what happens is that we feel hungrier for sweets. And so I think it's important just to understand that hormone levels are changing, that we're going to feel these different things, or that you might feel these different things, and to know, like, I'm not crazy, this is going on. There's changes as far as hormones, but just because I may feel hungrier for sweets does not mean that I have to go after these ultra processed foods, right? There's ways to have, as you probably know, eating fruits, feels so, or it tastes so sweet, especially as you've gone longer without that ultra processed foods. We want to avoid the sugar cycle. So what happens with the sugar cycle is that we eat some ultra processed food. Maybe we eat some white bread, white rice, candy, soda, any of those different things. Blood sugar is going to spike. Those are simple carbohydrates. With that sugar cycle, then insulin also increases. And what we have then is a sugar crash. We don't just come back to where we were at. Often with that insulin rising really high, we get a sugar crash. Now, if we eat complex carbohydrates, so these are our plants, these are whole and minimally processed plants. So we're eating our vegetables, our nuts, our beans, our seeds, our whole grains. We have complex carbohydrates that do lead to an increase in blood sugar, but it's not so dramatic. Our insulin hopefully is able to compensate for that, but not overshoot, so that our blood sugar level comes back down. With protein as well, we want to be getting in healthy sources of protein. And so with protein, our blood sugar level goes up and then comes back down, but it doesn't go up as much as it does with a carbohydrate. And then with fats, obviously there are good fats and bad fats. There are unhealthy types of protein, eating processed meat, unhealthy type of protein source, eating beans, a healthy source of protein. Same with fat. There's healthy and unhealthy sources of fat. But you can see that it increases blood sugar, but it takes longer for it to come back down to baseline. It's more stable, not as much of an increase. So when you're eating complex carbohydrates, you're eating healthy sources of protein, you're eating healthy fats like avocado. What happens is that your blood sugar doesn't spike as much as it does with those simple sugars. You get less of that sugar cycle. With that sugar cycle, when our blood sugar falls, then we're hungry again and we're really craving sweets, and we might feel more mood changes, more emotional lability. And so we want to be able to eat these things that help our blood sugar to stay fairly stable, that really help us to have a healthy microbiome. They also help us with increasing our energy and sustaining it, rather than that energy up and then energy crash. Also, we know that eating those high quality foods and trying to have a more stable blood sugar helps with decreasing visceral fat and increasing lean muscle. So we know that women too who ate a healthier diet, it helps to attenuate some of those metabolic changes that are typical, though not inevitable, during the menopause transition. So they help to attenuate those changes. So a high quality diet, a whole food or minimally processed plant forward diet, helps to decrease visceral fat, decreases inflammation, and helps to stabilize blood sugar. Lots of research around the Mediterranean diet, but even what they eat in the Mediterranean now is said to be too many ultra processed foods, too many foods that aren't healthy. So even if we're doing research around the Mediterranean diet, it's more of a whole and minimally processed, more of a plant-forward diet. But a plant-forward Mediterranean-ish style diet with lots of whole and minimally processed foods seems to be what the research shows is best for that menopause transition and really stabilizing those blood sugars. Also, dietary soy. When we're eating that whole and minimally processed soy, it helps to increase the anti-inflammatory microbiome species, decreases inflammation. It also decreases glucose. So plant protein dietary soy is good for helping us to maintain our blood sugar levels so that they're more stable and decreasing visceral fat. Now here's a picture of, I had my smoothie this morning. Leafy greens are important as well. We talked about blood sugar stability and our And so eating green leafy vegetables here, I had some chopped kale this morning, also had some organic blueberries. I had some ground flaxseed. I had some soy milk in it to get some soy. Green leafy vegetables, they help to increase lean muscle mass and decrease frailty. So they're also important for women, especially as we look at trying to maintain or increase our lean muscle mass. Now, it is important for us to be getting adequate protein. And you probably have heard most Americans get more than enough protein, right? So it's not like we need to be obsessed with protein. But going through the menopause transition, we need to make sure that we're getting enough. And that's totally possible whether you are vegan, whether you're vegetarian. But it's definitely possible. But you just need to be mindful of getting in adequate protein. Protein is so important for satiety, for making us feel full. It's important for muscle growth and repair, for keeping our metabolic rate higher, which we know often declines with the menopause transition, often, but not inevitable. Eating adequate protein is important for bone strength and decreasing abdominal fat, and important for neurotransmitter production for our mood. And so I love Brenda Davidson's plant. I think it's called Plant Powered Protein or Plant Protein. She has a book on plant powered protein that's just fabulous. She really follows the literature. So, and based on that, we recommend protein rich meals or snacks every 3 to 4 hours. And so it's not that you need to be, you don't need animal products in order to do this, but you need to be thoughtful of where you're getting your protein, getting high quality protein. Enjoy beans, seeds, nuts, tofu, tempeh, and soy milk. If you're somebody who eats animal products, maybe some Greek yogurt, maybe some salmon, or looking for healthier animal-based sources. And then there's synergy with resistance training. So these are just some examples of how you can get in some quality protein, some complex carbs, and some healthy fat. So maybe you do your smoothie and you get in some, maybe you put in some chia seeds, or like I put some ground flax seeds in there. You're getting some complex carbs, some healthy fats. You can do your steel cut oats, right? And I mix my steel cut oats often with soy milk. So I'm getting in some more of that protein, some soy, getting in a variety. You can put in some different nuts, get some healthy fats in there. There's all different ways to sneak in these different things. Here is an example of like a bowl that you can make. The avocado, I love avocado toast on a really, I have a bread that is made at Great Harvest called High Five Fiber that I just love. It is dense, it is hearty, and I put my avocado on there, and it's just great with some black beans that I make, some black beans that I try to make up every week, a black bean dip. So I put some of that on there. But here you have some quality protein. It looks like there's some tofu, there's some complex carbs, some healthy fats. Maybe some nut butter on apples. You're getting some quality protein, some healthy fat, some complex carbs. And so a variety of ways that we can get in those healthier proteins, those complex carbs, and healthier fats. So also fermented food, there's some research out there showing the benefits of fermented food. So there's research on probiotics, where you buy a probiotic in a certain bacterial strain. And I think that's okay for some, if you're working with somebody who really has expertise in that area. But I like for my patients to get their probiotics from fermented food. So I try to get some fermented food in every day. So that's like tempeh, that's your kimchi, that's your miso. There's a variety of different fermented foods. Watch out, some of them have a lot of added salt, so you need to be mindful of that so you're not going way over on salt. But fermented food really helps your gut microbiome too. Now, I'm going to meet people where they're at. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're already probably super healthy. You're bought into all of these different things, but I like to meet people wherever they're at with no shame, blame, or guilt. That comes from Dr. Beth Brady's. I work closely with her with the Paving the Path to Wellness program, but no shame, blame, or guilt. Meet people where they're at and help them to move along the spectrum. We want food to be joyful. We want to be able to celebrate when we eat healthy food. We want it to be nourishing. We want it to be delicious.